Hey guys, Rowan from Study TV. So I did promise not long ago that I would be back with a bucket load of videos. So basically this is the first of many. I'm just fulfilling that promise that I made to you. So I have one really simple tip. Now, one of the things that I often find is I get a lot of students that ask me questions, around, hey, what's the best way to study? If I've got to sit down for an hour, and start, working through, a particular subject, how should I study? What's going to help me boost my memory retention in the quickest amount of time? And it's interesting because I've spent a lot of time asking some of Australia's top students this exact question. What was the most effective way that they studied for their exams? And what's fascinating was the almost unanimous response I got. And it was an unusual response. Basically, every single person that I asked this question to that, had done exceptionally well gave me this one response. They would sit down on a weekly basis and they would teach somebody. That's right, teaching somebody. Now, most of the time I find that, I sort of communicate this to people and they give me this weird look like, teaching someone? Seriously? But yeah, I'm not joking. Teaching someone is the most effective way that you can learn a bucket load of content in a really quick period of time. Now, why is this the case? Well, if you think about it, if memory at a really basic level is about repetition, there is going to be certain tasks that have multiple layers of repetition that are built into them a lot quicker than others. And if building great memory is about repeating tasks that are also very active in nature, that are forcing you to think, then teaching others is a perfect study technique. Because to teach someone, you've got to read your set of notes, you've got to think about it, you've got to then verbally communicate it and structure it in a way, and the person that you're teaching is actually going to ask you questions which is going to get you to think about it again and then verbally communicate again. So first of all, we've got bucket loads of repetition and it's highly active. The second reason though teaching someone else is so important is that most of the time when you're studying for an exam and you go into the exam and you write your answers and then 2 weeks later get your results, that's the first time that you're usually actually getting solid feedback on the quality and the level of your knowledge. And it's probably the worst time to get that feedback because it's the time that actually counts. Those marks are going to go towards your final overall grade for a subject. So teaching someone's really great because it enables you to teach them and for them to actually give you feedback based on the sorts of questions that they're asking about actually where you're at. If they start asking you questions like, hey Rowan, I did not get that concept at all. Can you explain it to me again? It was really complex. Or, hey Rowan, what about this? I think you've forgotten this really important idea. Or, hey, what does that word even mean? What that enables you to do is to get early feedback to identify, hey, actually, wait a minute, I don't understand this very well. I thought I understood that, but maybe not. And finally, oh bugger, I really need to study this some more. So teaching other people is going to be great in terms of boosting memory retention, incredible, but it's also going to give you that early feedback so that you can really adapt and improve what you're studying in terms of content so that you can prepare effectively for your exam. Now, how should you go about teaching other people? Most of the time, this is where I find people fall short. They go, yes, okay, I believe you, Rowan. Teaching other people is really critical, but how do I do it? And then they get a little bit shy and a little bit awkward. Oh, it feels weird to teach someone. The reality is, get over it. It's going to feel weird and awkward to begin with, but you've got to get over that hump. My recommendation is to pick 2 people to teach for a particular subject. Let's say you're doing economics. Pick someone that's in your class, so a peer. Pick someone who's probably fairly similar to you in knowledge. You don't want someone who's too advanced because you're not going to be able to really communicate to them effectively and their questions are going to probably freak you out, let's be honest. And don't pick someone who's too far behind you because they're not going to get anything you say anyway. So pick someone that's a similar level and basically organise to meet once a week, even if it's for an hour and a half. And make an agreement that you're going to sit down and you're going to teach them topic A for 45 minutes. And then they're going to teach you topic B for 45 minutes. And then you're going to do that weekly, switching each time. So you're getting multiple levels of repetition and you're being able to give them feedback as well as they give you feedback. Now it's important, some ground rules is only do it with one other person. Seriously, three's a party. As soon as you get a couple more people in there, it sort of descends into this gossip session. And the second ground rule is make sure that you schedule some hangout time after the hour and a half. Because the reality is, if it's a mate, you're going to start studying, and oh hey, what about that awesome TV show on the weekend? So if you know that you've got time to hang out and chat about that stuff at the end of the session, when you start falling into it while you're actually doing your work, you can say, hey, wait a minute, don't stress, let's not talk about this now. We've got time later on to talk about it. Let's keep on crunching through this work that we've got to get through, and we'll chat later. So do this on a regular basis. So that's the first person you should teach. The second person that you should teach is someone who knows absolutely nothing at all about the material. So it could be a sibling, it could be a parent, it could be another friend who doesn't do the same subject as you. And the reason you want to do this is that typically what I've found is that when students study, it's really easy to skip all the easy stuff at the beginning because you sort of read it and you go, yeah, I get that, makes sense. But what often happens is in an exam, there's always one or two marker questions and all the really easy stuff, and then when you go to write your answers, you don't quite remember this, the sort of word-for-word terms that the markers are looking for. And you drop easy marks, and it's the difference between getting 90% plus or sort of sitting in the 80s. So by teaching someone who knows absolutely nothing about the course, they're going to ask you all those really, really, really basic, stupid questions like, what does that mean? Or, what does that mean? And as a result, it's going to force you to make sure that you know all of the basics. It's also going to force you to be really clear with your explanations. So, if you're not being clear and not being succinct, because they don't know anything, they're going to be completely confused, and they're going to really get you to focus on the core ideas. So, really quick summary. Number one, most effective way to study for an exam is to actually teach someone else. Number two, you've got to do it regularly. Don't feel awkward about it. Get over the hump. The reason it's so powerful, number three, is because it's highly active, it's got high levels of repetition, and it's actually a great way to get really instant feedback on your knowledge so that you can adapt and improve. Two people you've got to teach. Number one, someone who is a peer that's got a similar level of knowledge to you. Only one other person, so a group of two, including yourself. Do that weekly. And then the second is to teach someone who knows nothing, because they're actually going to get you to really refine all the basic concepts that you think you know, but probably don't know as well as you should. So, I'd love to hear what questions you've got. I'd love to hear how, if any of you have used this technique already and what success you've met. Until next time, study hard.